Okay, today we are going to be continuing the halachas of Biur Chametz. Simin Tuf Mem Hey, talking about getting rid of the Chametz before Pesach. Siv Beis is a continuation. We already had multiple sessions on this. The Shulchan Aruch begins by saying that if a person gives his Chametz to someone who isn't Jewish, he gives it before midday, halachic midday on the eve of Pesach. Eino sarach leva'er. One then does not need to burn his chametz, destroy his chametz, get rid of it. That's a way of getting rid of it. Vim serafoi koidim shishis, and if someone did burn it before the sixth hour, harizamuter lahanois bepachamim shaloi b'soich pesach. Someone who burns his chametz before midday, it's permissible for him to get pleasure from the coals. You get pleasure from the coals during Pesach. Haval, im sor from shishis ulamala, but if you burn it after the sixth hour, however, also since you're not allowed to get pleasure from the chametz then, or he said, lo yasik bo ton v'kirayim v'liyavashal, you can't heat up your oven, stove, whatever it is that you're heating up, and you can't cook with it. In bishul also a pas also a tavshil asurim, and if you did, so then it's going to be prohibited. Bahana to get pleasure from v'chein hapachamim shaloi asurim behana. Similarly, its coals are prohibited to get pleasure from whole v'sarfo achar shenezer bana, since you burned it after the time when it was already prohibited to get pleasure from. Mishna Berura says, also litin la'avdil u'shevchasoy nachriyim shemizainoison alav imhu harbe shiyeh shoshi ochlenu kol dem zman ha'isr. It's prohibited to give this chametz to your eved, your slave, maidservant, those people who aren't Jewish, even though you need to feed them, if it's a lot and it's impossible for them to finish eating it before basically the eve of Pesach, the time when it's prohibited
That's only a shifcho
them to eat it.
eved, right?
Yeah.
Like a maid or a cleaning lady.
Why would it be any different?
This is they're a hired gun. They're not mizonos and olav.
Oh, yeah, right, correct. Unless you have a lot of times when Jews have cleaning help who isn't Jewish and they're there the whole day, they have to supply them with food because they don't want not kosher food to go in their house.
Mizonos and olav.
Yeah. So you have to know your arrangement perhaps to see if it will be the same. King Kosev b'choik Yaakov b'shem Bach. That's what the Chok Yaakov writes, quoting the Bach. B'sefer Chemed Moshe choylek aleim. But the Sefer Chemed Moshe argues on them. Deloi ichbas lon ma shemizanoisev alav. It doesn't matter that they have to give him food or not. Kevan sheno preya lebezmana iser lekoidim pesach preya hu mashe mechuyev lo. Since you're not paying him, you're not giving him the chametz at a time that's prohibited. It's before that time.
Mm-hmm.
And once Pesach approaches, once it comes, you're not obligated to give him more food because you already paid it before. It's just prohibited. We explicitly tell him that he should hold the chametz throughout the whole Pesach. If that would be so, you can't tell him hold the chametz the whole Pesach. Because if you would tell him that, that shows that you want your chametz to remain, which is prohibited. Rather, you should just give it to your servant just without unspecified, in an unspecified manner, and you should say v'yamalon. You should say, "Hila chametz zeh b'chayvecha b'shuv liyeh lacha mezonos l'koyim b'pesach." Here's your chametz, and then I don't need to give you food the rest of Pesach. V'chein hiskim ladina hagon mahar shak b'chidusha. That's what the Maharshak says. V'kosav. You should be careful that your eved will not eat the chametz in your house, that your slave won't eat your chametz in your actual house. That people don't suspect you that you paid your debt with chametz. It's explained later on in Siman Taf Nun Siv Vav. Yeah. Um, yeah, so that's basically the discussion over here. Not so simple in this case. The Shulchan Aruch said if you give your chametz to someone who isn't Jewish before the sixth hour, you don't need to burn it. Because the chametz is in your domain and you're not obligated to burn it. But if you give it to him after, already halachic midday and the eve of Pesach, that's a different story. You can't do that. You're not allowed to do that. You have an obligation to get rid of it. You can't give it to him then.
So after the 6 hour, you just can't make it hefker anymore, right? You have
Yeah,
to burn it.
it's automatically it's not yours. You can't even give it to someone. Um, if you cooked with it or if you baked with it, the let's see the Mishna Berura over here first. Oh, what just happened? I think I accidentally exited out. I fault. Apologize. Yeah. Um, so the Mishnah Berura, the next one says if you give it to him before the 6 hour, you don't need to burn it. מכל מקום, נכון לנהוג שלא להוציא כל חמצו יהניש אלוהי בנתינתו לעכו"ם ולקיים מצוות השבעסה בשעה שישית בפירורים שמניח לשרפם שפירורים נשבתים ועומדים ואפילו מניחם אינו עובר בבעל יראה להניח חמצו כל הפחות כדאי כדי לקיים מצוות השביעית כתיקונה. Nevertheless, it's correct to accustom yourself not to take all of your chametz that remains to you that you have, you shouldn't give all your chametz away. And just fulfill the mitzvah of tashbisu, of getting rid of your chametz just with small little pieces.
How
Because those small pieces aren't strong enough to cause a person to violate the Torah prohibition of Baal Yireh that you're not allowed to see chametz on your own chametz on Pesach. Rather, you should leave minimally the size of an olive worth of chametz in order to fulfill the mitzvah of tashbisu properly. Important point.
now the 10 pieces have to be combined to kazayas, or each piece has to be a
That's
kazayas?
what I'm saying. You should try to leave just one full piece that's really
One
kazayas.
full piece of kazayas.
Yeah.
And how we touch a kazayas, let's say like by motzi matzahs, they're having much machar.
Yeah, there's different opinions and everything. The size of just leave the size of a baseball or something, whatever. Just cover everything. That's all. Um, that's an important point over there. Okay, the next Mishnah Berura is commenting on the continuation of the Shulchan Aruch that says if you burn it before the sixth hour, like halachic midday and the eve of Pesach, you could get pleasure from the coals because from that you burnt with. Show your chametz lo nesra bena because the chametz isn't prohibited to get pleasure from them. Let's just talking about over here. Let's get some clarity over here. Get some clarity over here. Okay, they don't say anything over there. Okay. V'hu hadin shemuter b'shar chamishis levatel bo ushar mini anos. Fifth hour, you could even cook with it, get other sorts of pleasure with it. Achin hamina glasos lemadur b'fnei atzma fil b'shar chamishis. Custom is to make a big bonfire even by the fifth halachic hour. Kadei shelo yavo lahakel gam b'shar shishis, so you won't be lenient even the sixth hour. V'no hagen lisov also b'chatzav a little bit cuter. Custom is to burn it in a yard, courtyard, and not in an oven.
I mean, a barbecue is no good.
Yes, that's what the Mishna Berura says is the custom.
Customs have changed.
What,
Question is, who could it?
a fire pit?
Nobody has a kira where they're burning. A kira's an oven.
Right, he says not to use it in a kira. The barbecue would also probably have the din of a kira.
Oh, what's the difference? Is the one's enclosed and one's closed? One's enclosed and one's exposed?
Yeah, he wants it exposed. He says they say over here, even on a bonfire, custom is not to do it. B'fnei atzma. I don't know. I think he just means like a little fire. I'm not sure.
Then how are you supposed to do it?
Seems like he wants it more open, open fire. Maybe this would mean in like a metal garbage tin. I'm not sure exactly what he's referring to here. All right. Mishna Berura continues and says, commenting on the continuation of the Shulchan Aruch, if it was after midday, can't get pleasure of that. You can't use anything to heat up your oven with, cook with. If you did cook with it or bake with it, it's prohibited. Even though zev is goyim, this and this are causing it. What does this mean? Before we get to that, they say we hold yesh shevach eitzim bepas, meaning if you have bread that was baked through wood, the wood itself that is used to power the fire, they're not considered nechshavim, chashuv, they're not considered important. They're called the goyim to what causes the baking of the bread. However, once the baking process is done, so then we say hari kayemis mach masasma below shum shaykh sleitzim. The bread exists in this world. You don't need the wood anymore. The bread is already baked. It was just enhanced through the wood. So has you should look at it as if it has a portion in that existence of the bread, whatever. Okay. A lot of new concepts over here. What does zev v'zeh goyrim mean? Zev v'zeh goyrim means the bread, the chametz, isn't the only thing that's causing the bread to bake. Shatanu shel heter v'ha'itzim dainu chametz shel iser. The oven is permissible. Using the oven to bake the bread. The wood, or the chametz, so to say, is prohibited. In other words, we have two components, two ingredients, so to say, major ingredients. We have the bread itself, and then we have the heat source, right? We have the oven, which is causing it to get hotter. Two things that are causing it. So we usually hold that there's two things that are causing something to exist. Permissible. Totally fine. Zev is a gari mutter. So it should be permissible over here. You have a combination of something that is permissible and something that's prohibited. So it should therefore be okay. It's zev is a goyim. Therefore, it should be mutter. Shiny hocho, the goyim ha'itzim shalos over here is different. Because, okay, this is done. Over here is different because you're causing the wood that is prohibited is causing Bahem Hapas Nafis, the bread to be baked. Nikar Yoiser, it's more recognizable. Venir Shivcha Ne'anayim. And you see it getting enhanced visually with your eyes. Chad ukemoi chad goyim, who is considered like one cause. What does this mean over here? The oven, what does an oven do? Yes, the oven causes uh, it to get hot. Yes, that's what an oven does. But more importantly, what an oven does is because a fireplace doesn't get hot in and of itself. Rather, the explanation of a fireplace is you put the wood in there, you light it, and then it keeps the heat in one location, as opposed to if you were making an outdoor fire. That's what an oven does. An oven is shomer es choima. It literally guards the heat. It causes the heat shaliyas pazer, not to just scatter out and about. Causes it to stay in one spot. But the etzem maisa afia, that actual act of baking, that happens through what? That's through the wood. Right? You put it in there, and that's what helps out. Therefore, don't permit the bread over there because of you had the shutfus of the tanner, you had the help of the oven, so to say. Because the main baking is happening through the wood. So therefore, let's just tie it all in together.
Yeah.
We had two factors over here. We have the oven, which is mutter. The oven's permissible in and of itself. But the chametz, the wood, is being considered the chametz, so to say. So now we're saying that that really is what is causing the main fire. What is wood? Wood, the pshat is, the explanation of wood is you light it, and it causes the fire to be able to continue to remain a flame. Okay? This tissue is incredibly flammable. You put a lighter to it, the whole thing will light within seconds, but then within 30 seconds, the fire's over. There's nothing that keeps the fire going. If you have wood, that will keep it going. The wood in our case, aka when you're destroying the chametz of the biur chametz, the chametz is the wood. You're not putting. What's really keeping the fire going? You start the fire off, whatever it is. You start off with a little wood, let's say. That's not what keeps the fire going. You don't need the fire to be lit for hours. It's a relatively quick process. If you just an individual's lighting his chametz, and the chametz is considered the wood. Wait a second. So the question is, why then can't you get pleasure? Zev is gorim. The tanner, the oven, is causing the chametz to get burnt, and also the chametz itself is, which is the chametz is prohibited. The oven's permissible. Zev is gorim mutter. No. Answers the Mishna Berura. It's not Zev is gorim mutter. Because you have a nikar over here business, the chametz is more recognizable to the eye. The eye is not thinking about the oven. That you see that the main heat is coming from the chametz itself, and the ability for the fire to continue to exist. And therefore, even though typically you hold zev gorim is mutter, if there's two causes, something permissible and prohibited, it's permissible. And nevertheless, over here, it's going to be prohibited. Good?
Having a hard time, digesting this.
I'm not.
No,
No. But I have fast metabolism, so maybe that's why.
maybe it definitely could help me much better.
Yeah.
David Moish.
Tell him not to be mafsik the Torah Kedosh.
I'm not sure what he's doing. He knows better.
Aaron, come on.
He's gone.
Vafiluim b'shor shenoset napas l'toich hatanu kfar nehefech chometz l'gechalim o afilu efer cham v'nef al yodan gam kein aser. Even at the time you put the bread in the oven, so now the chametz already turned into coals, or even if it turned into hot ashes, and now stuff baked from that. It's prohibited. Shori b'chametz gam gechalim ve'efer on aser. Comes to chametz, their coals and their ashes are prohibited. The kevan pass an efa mechumam, and since the bread is baked and it's hot, min kor shivchan bepas kemo be'etzim. Since the bread is baked and it's hot, it's recognizable there that the bread was enhanced like the wood. It's a problem. V'filim gorof ha'efer v'agacholim v'aful bishel neger chumul levad gam ki nesurim kamachrim shepas v'tavshel. Even if you've gorof a cotton, grifa ketima, comes up more in Hilchos Shabbos bishel. Even if you removed the ashes and the coals, and you baked and you cooked by that heat alone, that's prohibited. And according to many achronim, and the bread and the dish will be prohibited. Ein beralacha. What's the explanation over here? Why, if you removed the ashes and the coals that came from chametz, can you now not use that oven anymore? And if you use it, the dish will become prohibited. You know why? Because think about a car for a minute. You turn on the heat, okay, in the car, turn on the car, heat's on, you exit the car, all closed. You come back 2 minutes later, it'll still be hot. It's hot from it was heated before. Same thing with the fridge. You unplug a fridge, okay? Just leave it closed. It will stay cold for many hours. Same thing with the oven. Even though you turn the oven off, so to say, or you remove the heat source that was heating the oven, the coals, it's still hot. So if you're going to use that heat now to cook something, that's a problem. But yes, for sure, if you removed everything, it went off, and then you started up again with new heat source, that would be permissible.
So even if the chametz gets bad,
Yeah.
right? I mean, we have a concept on Shabbos, you could switch that one for the other, the stomach viralo, right?
Yes.
So-
Therefore,
So I'm saying in case of an stomach viralo, I guess, sometimes it will master it, right?
not over here. You have a
Not
problem. This is the mother of all stringencies.
So the rice.
Welcome to Hilchos Pesach. There's a lot of svaras that we discussed in Hashkafas as to why we are more stringent with the halachas of Pesach, with the halachas of Chametz, that you have to remove it. Do we say if you have shatnez, you have to remove it? We say if you have basa b'chalav, you have to remove it? No, you don't need to burn it. But here's the mother of all stringencies. Do we say you have to check for it? Bedika? Many reasons, many explanations we discussed. That's what they say over here. Chametz isn't there at all.
So what would you have to do if you wanted to get benefit out of the oven? You have to take everything out and cool
Yeah,
down.
and that's what they say right over here, actually. That point that I just made before. Some argue on this, but at the end of the day, it's difficult to be lenient. Gotta take it all out, start new. That's right.
You have to let it cool down, I guess. Back then.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's right.
Hmm.
That's right. The Mishna Berura continues. Continues and says in Yud Gimel, can get pledged that Vafilim Nisarde Vapas Bikikotas Achedos. Benanika, let's say that bread got mixed with other loaves and it's not recognizable. Kulon Asudas Bana. It's all pleasure, they're all prohibited to get pleasure from. Ve'ein loy takana lahatir pasal tav shel zeh al yedei pidyon demei hana hechometz sheyash lechadamim leibud. There's no way to fix this to permit the bread or the dish through redeeming the amount of money for the pleasure of the chametz and throwing out the money. In other words, you can't say, all right, this what I just baked has a value of $100. I'm now going to take $100 and throw it out and eat what I made. You can't do such a thing. Kemoshe Mavor B'Yordei Simin Kuf Yodas is explained at the end of Hilchos Tarubos in the area about Shvek Svekos in the Shach and Sivkot Beis, as well as Simin Kuf Mem Beis. There's a way to fix this. You could sell that bread to someone who isn't Jewish, besides for the amount of money of prohibition that's in there. What does that mean? What you do is you detract debits and credits. What you do is you subtract the amount of pleasure of the chametz. Think about how much benefit the chametz caused that was heated up in the oven. Subtract that from the amount of money of the bread and the dish that remains. You understand? In other words, you take any way that the chametz contributed towards the value, suck that value out of it, and that's he gets a free pass for that. And then
I don't get it. I don't get it.
you're selling this to someone who isn't Jewish. So let's
Yeah.
say it's worth $100, but let's say $50 of that value was caused because not necessarily the ingredients, but because it was heated up with the chametz that was in the oven. So now subtract the 50, you get 50 left. That's what it's saying over here. Nimsa she'ina klal mechametz yisibbo. Consequently, you're not getting pleasure at all from the chametz that you heated up with. Rak she'zaher lefara hapas koidim shechirin la'akum. You should just be careful to crumble the bread before you sell it to someone who isn't Jewish. If it's in a place, of course, where we said that you could have bread that is baked by someone who isn't Jewish, is a whole discussion in and of itself. The im lo yafarer, because if you won't crumble it up, we're concerned that you might return and sell it to, and it might be resold to a Jew, which will certainly be a problem. And even if this bread or dish was not mixed with others, there's also a way to fix this by selling it. Some prohibit this if it wasn't mixed together, mixed up. In a place of a great loss or a pressing situation, one could rely on the lenient opinion and be lenient over here. Yeah, this is some real stuff that we're dealing with over here. This is like real nitty-gritty. Yeah, just looking at the Sharatzians here. Mishna Berura in your Dalit says the coals. The coals. The coals are also prohibited. Uhuadin Efron Vika Nizkar Lael. Their ashes are prohibited, like we mentioned above. And that's why it's prohibited to heat yourself up by those coals or the light. Sometimes you have a fire, it's warm, it's comfortable, you put your hands right by the heater where the heat comes out. Can't do that. You can't use their ashes to do laundry with the clothing. Seems like they used to use ashes for laundry. I don't know exactly how. Seems like ashes are incredibly dirty.
That's one of the sort of things they used to use.
Yeah. However they used to. Yeah. That's what I was thinking of. You could use their ashes for to cover the blood. The mitzvah because the Gemara in Rosh Hashanah, it's Yud says that mitzvahs weren't given for our pleasure. The primary reasons weren't given for our pleasure. Given as a yoke on our neck. Therefore, you could use that for kisui adam. Cover that blood after you slaughter the animal, of course. Okay. Can't use the coals. Last Mishna Berura over here. if it's of chametz. If you have coals that were mixed from chametz and wood, chametz that you use to burn the chametz, it's prohibited to get pleasure from all of it. Ve'inam batilim afilu b'elfa would not become null and void even if there's 1,000 times more permissible. Shahari entered or not below bitul. Tahainu lahashoisa ma'ad achar pesach v'davar sheishul matir lo batul. Because there's a permissible way there's a way that it's permitted to get pleasure from without nullifying it, meaning to just delay it until after Pesach, and a davar sheishul matir lo batul. Something that in the future will become permissible does not become null and void. Okay. This is Siv Bays over here. Any questions on this? That's a good point that if you're burning your chametz too late in a public fire, and you're in an area such as New York, and it's a little cold outside, so now you have to be careful not to get pleasure from that heat. That's what we're learning. It's the Reb Shmuel's Hara. It's a good point from what we're learning, applicable point. So basically, this simon has one little sip that's left. We'll wrap that up next session, Mitzvah Hashem. And also next session, we'll just clarify matters regarding the whole major discussion, a lot of different ideas. We'll try to come out practically what to do with the garbages when you put your chametz out, how to do it if
You don't have a mass collection.
yeah, if you're not gonna have a mass garbage collection that's gonna come over here where we live, we don't have such a problem, but there are many other places where they do have problems. It's just so Jewish over here, they know they come by every hour, literally.
I also think there are places where they park and you could bring your garbage there.
You could do that also. There's many options. In Nassau County over here in the 5 towns, we don't need to do that. They just come to you. We're very spoiled. They come behind your house with the garbages. They come to your house multiple times every paycheck. They know when it is. They have it in the calendar months in advance. They know. They know they have whatever day it is, they got to come. I think it gets tricky if it falls out actually on Sunday because they don't come on Sunday. I think they might even still come just special for religious reasons, but usually they never come Sunday, so it gets tricky. Maybe the Shaila could exist Sunday. So we'll have to discuss it. That'll be next session. Mr. Shem, everyone should have a wonderful day. Baruch Hu.
Oh,
Yeah.
Nice day. Have a good day. Wait. All right.